Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, law enforcement is asking for the public's help to find a missing Port Lavaca teen.
A big funding cut could impact the food bank of the Golden Crescent, how they're pushing forward.
And major layoffs hit the education department, impacting students nationwide.
We've got some really hot, dry winds headed in our direction. Tonight, there is some stormy weather in North Texas. We're down here. That activity is not going to reach us, but is any moisture in our direction? We'll be talking about that coming up in a moment.
And the Oakham tennis team is ready to make another run to the state title this year. We'll highlight that coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shawna Currie.
And I'm Don Brubaker. The University of Houston Victoria may soon be joining another university system. State Senator District 18 Lois Kolkhorst filed a bill to have UHV part of the Texas A&M University system. The bill states that if it is passed, UHV would then become Texas A&M University Victoria. The bill is co-sponsored by State Senator Paul Betancourt from Harris County. UHV has been part of the University of Houston system since its first semester in the spring of 1973. It became a four-year university in 2009.
New details tonight on the arrest of a Victoria ISD employee on child sexual abuse charges. A grand jury indicted 53-year-old Carlos Caceres this month on felony charges of sexual assault of a child, indecency with a child sexual contact, and indecency with a child exposes. An arrest warrant was issued yesterday afternoon, and school resource officers arrested Caceres less than 15 minutes later at Cade Middle School. Caceres worked in the Victoria ISD Maintenance Department since 2022. According to the indictments, the alleged incidents involved two children, one in June 2021, the other in September 2023. Caceres is to have no contact with children as part of his bond conditions. And the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help to find a missing teen. Dean Gordillo was last seen around 4 p.m. Monday near Calhoun High School and the McDonald's in Port Lavaca. The 17-year-old was wearing a black hoodie with the words "No hustle, no muscle." Dean is 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs about 140 pounds with a slim build. If you have any information or have seen the teen, you are asked to contact the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office or dial 911. Nearly $1 billion in funding to support schools and local food banks has been cut.
25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley joins us with more on how this could impact local efforts to feed those in need. Ray?
Yes, Shawna and Don, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has cut funding for two programs that help food banks and schools buy food for local farmers. I spoke with the president of the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent to learn more about the issue.
USDA has cut $1 billion in funding that would allow food banks to purchase food from local farmers. About $660 million of those funds supported schools and child care facilities. The rest were part of the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement Program, which provided funds to local food banks and other organizations. Locally, the president of the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent, Robin Cato, says the food bank had to apply for the grant and she wasn't expecting to budget any of these funds for operating expenses.
We're going to provide for those in need. Like our mission here is helping heal the heart of hunger. We'll continue doing that regardless of what happens.
The Food Bank of the Golden Crescent serves 11 counties and provides food assistance to over 40,000 people a month. Between 2023 and 2024, there was an increase of 2 million pounds of food distributed across 11 counties.
We're still seeing the increase, and we'll continue to see that until, groceries level out.
She says that she was looking forward to that grant, but isn't reliant on the grant. She still plans to carry out her mission.
Everyone that works here is doing this because they care about other people.
The Food Bank of the Golden Crescent remains steadfast in its mission, relying on community support to feed those in need.
In a statement from the Region 3 Education Service Center, officials say they are unsure on how the cuts could impact local and daycare programs, but are actively monitoring the situation. Shawna, Don, back to you.
Ray, thank you. And this brings us to our viewer poll for today. The Agriculture Department has cut 2 programs that provided schools and food banks with over $1 billion to buy food from local farms. Supporters say these programs help strengthen local agriculture and improve access to fresh food, while critics argue the spending was unsustainable. The question is, should funding for local farms and fresh food access be cut? Yes, they support local farmers and help feed communities, or no, the funding should be used elsewhere. Overwhelmingly, 93% of our voters are voting no. We thank you for voting and we want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we'll have the latest results at 10.
They train like athletes, they compete like athletes, but they don't always get the recognition they deserve. Tonight, we're shining a light on a group of dedicated performers who put in just as much work as their cheerleading counterparts, but aren't always seen as official athletes. Despite their intense training and commitment, competitive dancers in Victoria ISD and many other school districts don't get the same perks as other school sports, like excused absences for competitions. Join us tonight at 10 as we take you behind the scenes to see just how hard these dancers train. And as a dance mom with a child in competitive dance, I certainly can relate.
You put a few miles on the vehicle,
yes.
Taking her to different events in other parts of Texas, we'll just say. All right, the National Weather Service is warning of high fire danger this afternoon in Lavaca County and several other Texas counties.
Let's go over to Mac Perez for our first look at our forecast. And Mac, we're warming up and drying out really at the same time.
Absolutely, and in fact it's going to get hotter and it's going to be drier. We are looking at a quick system that's rolling to the northeast. There you see some stormy weather as far south as maybe Waco. We're not in that, but that's fine. But behind it is some very hot, dry air, which will be over the area tomorrow. We're looking at high 90s and gusty southwest winds, so all of us are going to be in high fire danger. We'll be talking more about that coming up a little bit later on. Back to you.
House Republicans are closer than ever to passing a hotly debated plan that would shift billions of dollars in taxpayer money to private school families.
And a House committee took up the bill today and is expected to pass. Now, if it does, private school families would receive 85% of what public schools get per student, adding up to $1 billion next year, nearly $4 billion by the end of the decade. Supporters call it school choice. Opponents call it a voucher program that pulls funding from public schools. With House Speaker Dustin Burrows backing the bill, it has the votes to pass, something that did not happen last session. But Democrats say they're not giving up the fight just yet. Hundreds of employees at the U.S. Education Department will be out of a job soon. It could be the first step towards eliminating the agency altogether, a move proposed by President Trump.
Michael Yoshida breaks down who will the cuts impact the most.
The U.S. Department of Education cutting nearly 50% of its workforce. The layoffs, which started Tuesday evening, combined with those who already took voluntary so-called buyouts, will cut the department's headcount to nearly 2,200 employees. Education Secretary Linda McMahon saying this on Fox News when asked about the cuts.
Because that was the president's mandate, this directive to me. Clearly is to shut down the Department of Education.
The move drawing swift criticism from Democrats.
That's bad news for any American who cares about education for disabled children, about higher education, about a skilled workforce.
Fully eliminating the department would require Congress to act.
Oftentimes what's concocted in Washington, D.C. when it goes out to Montana doesn't exactly fit. So in a lot of cases, the states are better for administering the programs.
The Department of Education was created in 1979 to strengthen the federal commitment to ensuring access to equal education opportunities for every individual. The department has been responsible for things such as federal civil rights enforcement, student loans, and oversight of student disability rights. Senior officials say job cuts will not impact federal student aid, quote, in any way, shape, or form. Still, experts question whether the agency's duties can effectively be carried out with a diminished or even eliminated department.
They're not just federal budget line items. These impact real humans here.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida reporting.
Egg prices are falling, but not for long. In the first week of March, prices for wholesale loose eggs fell by $1.20, averaging almost $7 a dozen nationally. That's down 15% from the week before. The U.S. Department of Agriculture said in its latest market report that's what retailers pay. Consumers are still paying higher prices at the grocery store. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins said the egg market won't stabilize for another 3 to 6 months.
The Texas Senate unanimously passed a bill from State Senator District 18 Lois Kolkhorst. The bill requires food labels to warn Texas consumers which ingredients are banned in other countries starting in 2027. Senator Kolkhorst's bill also requires daily physical education for students from kindergarten to 8th grade, and it requires nutrition education for students in Texas high schools and institutions of higher learning, along with updated nutrition training for all Texas medical workers. The Texas Senate introduces a bill requiring voters to prove their citizenship. The Texas Tribune reports the bill would apply to currently registered voters and restrict some to only congressional elections. Voters who don't provide proof of citizenship would be placed on a separate voter roll and could cast ballots only in U.S. House and Senate races. Voters on that list would not be allowed to vote for president under the bill. Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Calhoun County District Attorney Annie Cabello retires, and the Port Lavaca Police Department gets new trailer radars. You can read these stories and more at portlavacawave.com.
And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see all of our news on YouTube as well. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6, a U.S. House hearing on DOGE today provided some tense moments.
Also ahead, tariff battles heat up between the U.S., Canada, and the European Union. There were some tense moments at the start of today's House Ways and Means hearing on DOGE today. The committee was marking up 2 Democratic-backed resolutions today, one that requests documents related to the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE's, access to Treasury payment systems and confidential taxpayer information, and one on its access to the Social Security Administration. Several members called out DOGE leader tech billionaire Elon Musk for not attending today's proceedings. Canada and the European Union announced retaliatory tariffs against the United States today. It comes on day 1 of President Trump's global 25% tariff on steel and aluminum.
Trump says that the EU's tariffs create ill will. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington.
President Trump in the Oval Office as his new 25% global tariff on steel and aluminum sparks retaliatory tariffs around the world.
We have been abused really for a long time, and we will be abused no longer.
The European Union today announcing tariffs against the U.S., primarily targeting goods coming from Republican-led states. It includes beef, bourbon, motorcycles, and jeans.
We will always remain open to negotiations. It is not in our common interest to burden our economies with such tariffs.
Trump says the EU's tariffs create ill will.
The EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of the US?
Of course they are.
Trump making that comment while sitting next to the Prime Minister of Ireland, Michal Martin. Trump says the U.S. will respond with reciprocal tariffs.
So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. Nobody can complain about that.
Canada today also announcing a 25% tariff that will affect more than $20 billion worth of American exports.
The only constant in this unjustified and unjustifiable trade war seems to be President Trump's talks of annexing our country through economic coercion.
It comes as new inflation numbers from the Consumer Price Index are better than expected. Egg prices are still a major outlier. Prices are up nearly 60% from 1 year ago, up 10% from 1 month ago. As for the timing of the new tariffs being imposed on the U.S., Canada's go into effect overnight. The EU's go into effect April 1st. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
The Trump administration announced today it is rolling back major rules that targeted pollution. In all, the Environmental Protection Agency announced it was rolling back 31 rules. They include those that would have pushed power plants and car makers toward cleaner forms of energy. The agency also announced it is reconsidering a scientific finding that has served as the basis of federal regulations to curb climate pollution. If that precedent is dismissed, the EPA would no longer have the authority to manage the pollution that causes global warming. The head of the EPA called Wednesday's announcement the, quote, most consequential day of deregulation in U.S. history. Climate and environmental groups have vowed to challenge the EPA's moves in court.
And just moments ago, we are getting late word here from NASA. NASA's SpaceX Crew 10 launch has just been scrubbed because of a hydraulic ground issue. This is the launch of the SpaceX rocket that was going to go to the International Space Station, taking 4 astronauts and then taking back the 2 astronauts who've been at the space station since June. So maybe there will be another launch tomorrow on this. We'll see how the weather there is in Florida, but once again, that launch has been scrubbed for tonight. And here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record. A copy of the book History of DeWitt County 1899 is given to Cuero Junior High, and a DeWitt County livestock competitor takes her showing to the next level. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
And coming up, we'll be talking about the hot, dry wind rolling into the crossroads. Right now, we're at 79. Our winds are out of the southeast at 21 miles an hour. They're picking up, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of stuff going up northern parts of the state. We managed to get up to 84 today. Tomorrow will be about 92. We'll talk about the hot wind coming up in a moment. Well, you know, we sort of slipped over springtime. We're going right into summertime as temperatures start pushing the 90s for us and even higher out west. It's a little bit unusual. Tonight, while we're generally clear skies out there, but not a bad looking evening with a southeast wind, you notice right here, Austin is just about to get a thunderstorm. What is all this? Well, this is a line of storms that developed just west of I-35. This is being triggered by the dry line. The dry line is moving easterly right about now. You can see the line of storms from just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, then rolling down through Waco and then coming down to about Austin. Now, If you continue to extend this, you might see some stormy weather in and around the LaGrange area tonight before this sort of weakens out. Of course, we've got later sunshine now, and so we're going to have to watch that. But those of you up in Flatonia, Gonzales, you may just be looking to the north to see if any of that is coming in your direction. While you can see right here, much of northeast Texas is under a severe thunderstorm watch as that whole line moves through. But that being the only excitement in terms of moisture, the rest is kind of depressing in terms of hot, dry weather patterns. In fact, out here in Brownwood and in San Angelo, they're getting dust storms right now with the humidity dropping like a rock on the west side of Texas. Now, that's why we have this dry line. Over here, we've got the humidity, behind it, very hot, dry air, and that is the boundary that triggers all this activity. We have red flag warnings for a whole bunch of the state of Texas, starting in Bexar County and going out west. We're not in it just yet, but I would not say that we're not in a high fire danger, because we're going to be looking at gusty winds in the 25 to 35 miles an hour over the next couple of days. It's just which direction we're going to get. Now, again, the fire danger is with us. If you're going to be outdoors, be very cautious. You know, a lot of people having to drive up to the ranch and looking at the grasses, but a lot of that native grasses have not bloomed up or warmed up or greened up just yet. We're looking at this map. This is our humidity right now, okay? So we're here, and you've got, you know, fairly comfortable humidity, 60 to 80% down along the water's edge. But notice right here, there's the dry line, 22% in Nixon, 13% arid dry in San Antonio, and then 6 and 5% out west. This is amazingly dry air, and of course that is the boundary line, which is triggering this activity up here. So what we're going to get is some of this stuff drifting in tomorrow. Every afternoon it sort of moves in our direction. That's the nature of the dry line. So the land is heating up, so the dry air rolls this way until the evening, and then it rolls back the other way. So that is what is triggering that activity tonight. And you can see how we're getting westerly winds out there. They're actually getting winds in 30, 40 mile an hour range throughout much of the Concho Valley. Here's a front. It's actually slightly cooler behind it, but boy, I'll tell you, there's all kinds of stuff happening that isn't really normal for this time of year. On the West Coast, we've got a big storm, but by the time it gets here, it's going to be not much. Looking for sunny skies tomorrow. On the hot side, getting up to 84. In Cuero, you're getting up to 91. 7-day forecast, there is no real chance of rain through the next 7 days, as you see right about there. That's your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And here's Shawna.
All right, thank you, Mac. Well, now we send it over to Max Williams for sports, and a pretty exciting day of competition today, Max.
That's right there, Shawna, because we had the final results of the 2A girls powerlifting meet there at Edinburgh, Texas. So I'll give you all the teams that were participated and some results coming up in sports. All right, Crossroads, happy Wednesday to everyone as we're halfway through the week. And these past couple days, we've been talking a lot of baseball and softball action here across the Crossroads. Well, today we're going to take a break and we're going to go a different route, talking about the world of tennis and the Yoakum Bulldogs tennis team that look to make a run back to the state this year. Here's Yoakum head coach Kelly Stansberry and a couple players talking about what it will take to reach that goal.
My biggest expectation is that we step on the court and we leave it all on the court.
Yeah, I feel good. You know, honestly, I just take this as a learning opportunity just to go out there and try different stuff.
On our guys' side, I mean, growing up with these guys that I've known for 5 or 6 years now, I mean, a lot of them have very special abilities. They're incredible players.
I just plan on, trying my best. Some days you might not have your best, and so just having a good attitude and giving 110% in whatever shot or whatever way I'm trying to achieve anything.
And can't wait to see how the Yoakum tennis team does, competing towards state this year. And again, tune in later tonight, 25 News Now Sports at 10 p.m., where sports reporter Ray Robinson kind of deep dives more into the Yoakum tennis team. Over to girls powerlifting, where the 2A state meet happened today in Edinburgh, Texas. Today we had Ganado, Luis, and Refugio compete here today in the 2A meet. First with Ganado, they had 6 state qualifiers, and unfortunately none of them did get in the top 3. But here is a couple names to get in the top 10 though. Zoe Ybarra in the 114 weight class did get at number 10. Also there at number 10 as well there, Lilian Cerna and Abriel Enriquez were also in the top 10 there for Ganado. As for Luis, they had 4 participants there in the state meet today, and Arleth Mendez was in the top 10, and the other 3 were just outside the top 10 with Hannah Ochoa, Asbieta Barron, and Julia Garcia there for Luis. But also a great showing for Refugio as they had 1 powerlifter in Salem Basketball in the 242+ pound weight class and finished in 8th place overall. So congrats to all the ladies competing there in the 2A state powerlifting meet. Tomorrow will be 3A, then 4A will be on Friday, and then 5A will be on Saturday. Over to UHV men's and women's golf. They had 2 golfers that got Red River Athletic honors this past week. First in women's golf with Emily Bickelman, who won honors last week, if you remember. Now also there in the Shriner Shootout, had a great showing, finished tied for 5th place overall. Also Lucky Burnstraight finished tied for 14th place there last week. Congrats there to Lucky and Emily winning Red River Athletic golf honors. Now over to some Wednesday night baseball, where Refugio Bobcats are facing, after a good win over Yorktown there this past Wednesday night, they're going to be back in action at home versus Skidmore Titan. The first pitch of that game will be at 7 p.m. And again, for Refugio, they're trying to keep going back on the right path. And then finally tonight, more big news with NFL free agency, with first Texans signing Eagles defensive back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Then other big names as well. Chargers defense end Joey Bosa also got traded to the Buffalo Bills. That was a 1-year, $12.6 million deal. Then the Colts got possibly a quarterback battle there for the future with Daniel Jones from the Giants, again on a 1-year, $14 million deal. And then finally DeAndre Hopkins, they're going to the Ravens for a 1-year, $6 million deal. And also Cowboys got Kyer Elam as well. That's a big pickup from the Bills. Could help the secondary out there for the Cowboys in the future. Also DeMarcus Lawrence, also big news as well, former Cowboy as well. That's going to do it here in sports. Don and Shawna, back to you.
Max, thank you, and we're back in a moment. A NASA SpaceX flight is launched in a mission set to map 450 galaxies. Finally tonight, after several delays, NASA's Sphere-X launched last night in a mission set to map 450 galaxies. The SpaceX rocket is on course to fly over Earth's poles, carrying 4 suitcase-sized satellites to study the sun. The spacecraft's instruments will observe the cosmos in 102 different colors or wavelengths. The mission aims to explain how galaxies formed and evolved over billions of years and how the universe expanded so fast in its first moments. It will take 6 months to map the entire sky. 4 full sky surveys are planned over 2 years. Who wants that job? Anybody want that job?
Yeah.
Would you like that, Mac?
I would get out there and take pictures every night and see how to, I mean, we haven't figured out if it all went this way, the universe, or it's all going this way. It's like the last couple of telescopes just tell us we're going to rewrite that book, you know. It didn't quite work out that way. So who knows what they're going to investigate now. Well, folks, for us, it's the very hot, dry weather. Now, today we were in the 80s. Tomorrow we'll be in the 90s. Yes. I have the alert flag up because for Thursday, Friday, and probably into Saturday, Sunday, we've got very dry air. We're talking arid Arizona air that'll put us in a high fire danger. So although we don't have an advisory for us here in Victoria County, we should all be very cautious with anything that looks like vegetation and flame out there.
We don't have an advisory for now.
For now, I think it's going to change.
I think so. All right,
that is getting awfully close to 100 degrees already. I don't know if I'm looking
March. What's going on here?
Happy March.
Unbelievable. Hey, thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.